Okay, before we get this deck tech video out, I decided to actually open a quick bag of collector boosters. So, $25. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Got foil common. Well, a few uncommons actually. But a lot of the showcase cards that are going to be used in some frankly janky or rare alternate case brews. Shiny Mountain, and oh hey! Okay, this is really cool. We got an extended art Niambe. Okay, that's fun. Oh, and also we got that's cool. We also got a pack foil, Baron. Hmm. I wonder if there's a way to make a rotation proof deck including these cards. Oh wait, what else was in it? Oh hey, extended art Ugin! Yay! Okay, that's really awesome. But I wonder if there is a way. Well, I guess we're going to find out in this episode of the Brewing Labs. Well, actually, first I should probably sleeve these, so cue the intro sequence. Hello, one and all, and welcome to an episode of the Brewing Labs. And for the record, yes, I did got those card sleeves, so we already got that done. Anyway, for this deck tech video, I decided to actually make a fun deck basically brewed around Baron Tolarian Archmage as well as Niambe Esteemed Speaker. Mostly these are basically bounce effect cards. Niambe specifically being able to bounce a creature we control to our hand. If we do, we gain life equal to the creature's converted mana cost. Very nice. As well as Baron, which his major ability is we could also return up to either a target creature or a planeswalker if we want to. Granted, we don't have any planeswalkers, so we're not really using that part of the ability to planeswalk to its owner's hands. And then at the beginning, if you instep, if a permanent was put into your hand from battlefield this turn, we draw a card. So basically, what I decided to do is kind of a blue-white bounce counter control is the best way to explain it. So as you can see, this is the curve, mostly high on the 2 drops, while little medium to the 3 drops. So our 1 drops are essentially Giant Killer, which mostly we're just having here as a good 1 drop, as well as the adventure portion to help us destroy very problematic creatures such as Winota and such. We also have Wall of Runes in here, just as a 1 drop that we don't mind bouncing to our hand. It's also nice defensive against the aggro as well. It's just when we bounce to our hand with Baron, we can draw a card. Stonecoil Serpent, really good kind of like module card in the deck. We could use it to more or less either get an early game kind of like creature or just late game be a beast. One thing to note, and I always constantly make this mistake, whatever you do, while bouncing with Baron, it's not a bad idea since you can then bounce it with the Stonecoil Serpent and then get essentially the card draw as well, being able to play Stonecoil Serpent for a pretty much make it bigger more or less. Don't try to bounce it with Niambe. Mostly because the factor is since, well, Teferi's daughter is a golden card, you can't bounce it since it has protection from multicolored. So, keep that in mind. Our 2 drops, we have Shepherd of the Flock, just another way to return stuff to our hands, specifically a permanent with the adventure portion, and it's a 2-mana free one, which is not bad. Fae of Wishes, which is another thing we don't mind bouncing with Baron or Niambe, just so that we can constantly pretty much cast the granted portion, which we'll get to the sideboard to explain why we want to use the granted portion a majority of the time. But mostly, granted will help us get some really good late game fuel that we have in our sideboard. We also have Hypnotic Sprite, which is just a really good early game counterspell. Just being able to counter anything with converted mana cost 3 or less is nice. Plus, getting a 2/1 fly out of it is nice. Plus, it's also another thing we don't mind bouncing to our hand, because then we have now another counterspell, mostly up and ready, so to speak. We also throw in Foss's Oracle, just as 2 of in the deck. Mostly this is just here because it helps us filter our deck. Plus, it's my little side deck tech against mill decks, which can be pretty popular in the format, so yeah, it's mostly in there for that. We also have Niambe in here, just as a way to return our creatures to our hand and gain a little bit of life, which the life gain from it is really nice. We also throw in some Banishing Lights because it's just good mid-game removal. We throw in Baron as a free of, just essentially, as stated before, we can use it to bounce our stuff, but don't be afraid to bounce opponent stuff if necessary. This is a very effective mana war for a reason. We also have Brazen Borrower in here, just as another way to bounce stuff, specifically opponent stuff, to their hand. as well as something we don't mind bouncing with Niambe and Baron. You're going to hear me saying that constantly. We also throw a few Gadget the Wizen in here. Even though it's kind of tricky, especially with the free blue, we do have ways to get extra mana, so being able to use this to draw cards. Plus, also, it's a really good combo to return this with Niambe, so you can gain free life, and have this at the ready to draw more cards and such. So, really nice card for the deck. We also have Shadow the Skies, just in case if it's kind of like our emergency switch. We also throw Fossa Deep Dwelling, which is very fascinating in this deck. Mostly because we're using it to flicker specifically Baron or Niambe, essentially. Being able to flicker them and then being able to get their ETB trigger again, very nice. We also have Wall of Runes to be able to essentially trigger as well. So, essentially we can flicker it if we need to and get their ETB effects, which is nice. Plus, also we have enough blue devotion in the deck that it can become a 6/5 creature relatively easy, which then become really absurd. We also throw 2 Sad Robots, aka Solemn Simulacrum, in the deck. Mostly because they actually help us for mana fixing, plus also it's another thing we don't mind flickering with Fossa, so really nice for the deck. We also throw in 2 Elspeth Conquers Death, just because it's a really powerful spell in the current format. You can use it to do some really silly shenanigans, so yeah, it's in there for a really good reason. It's just a very powerful 5-cost enchantment that allows us to return our creatures, specifically stuff like Baron, Fey of Wishes, any of our creatures that we don't mind returning back, which then we could return back to our hand with either one of our return spells, so to speak. So then we also then have in the sideboard, as I stated before, I kind of split the sideboard for this one. I'm actually going to put this in the side view so we can actually have a better view of the sideboard here. So essentially what I did here is kind of like a split. It's a split between stuff we don't mind siding in if we're playing best of 3, / also stuff we don't mind pulling with Fey of Efficients. Now, the ones that we have specifically for best of 3 matches, we have Essence Scatter against more creature-oriented deck designs. Neutralize, just more counter magic. We also have an extra Elspeth Conquest Death, just in case we go against control matchups. Sublime Epiphany, same thing applies. And then the other stuff that's in the deck is more stuff we don't mind to tutor out with Fey of Wishes, such as Sorcerer's Spyglass against Planeswalker matchups. Mythos of Luna is one of the cheekier cards to pull with Fey of Wishes, because there's some circumstances where, I kid you not, where somebody Banishing Light one of my permanents, and what I do is I just Fey of Wishes for Mythos of Luna, copy Banishing Light, and then banish their Banishing Light to actually get my permanent back. So there's a lot of cheeky stuff like that, where you can do stuff like that. We also throw Banish into Fable in here. Now keep in mind, this is something you can't pull technically from Eldraine. You do have to actually craft this with a rare wild card, or I guess if you're doing this in paper, get the Fairies deck, if I remember correct, the one with the Esper Fairy Commander, essentially, or Brawler, I guess. Where it's an instant spell that when you cast a spell from your hand, copy it if you control an artifact, then copy it if you control an enchantment. You may choose new targets for the copy, and then you return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and you create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. So this is just another cheeky way if we need to bounce multiple fiends that opponents control, or even if we want to bounce stuff that we control to help protect it and such, and still maybe even get a nice Baron trigger off it. Kiora Best of the Sea God is a one-of in this because Kiora Best of the Sea God. It's a really powerful card if you can durdle enough to late game. Also, Ugin the Spirit Dragon. There's a Ugin. So we put Ugin in here just as something to tutor with Fey of Wishes, just because it's a really good board wipe / just value Planeswalker in general. And Heliod's Intervention's in there if we go against multiple artifact-like enchantment-style boggle decks, essentially. And that is the deck. So, let's actually play a few games of best of 1 with this to show it off. And for the record, I do kind of want to show a best of 3 of this, but I'm going to actually show this in a separate video, best of 3 with this deck, just for the sake of time. So, nevertheless, let's get seeing how this brew does a bouncing, shall we? Okay, let's see here. We got Baron, and let's see, we got a 2-drop, Banishing Light, Hypnotic Sprite. I think that's a keep. Yeah, let's keep it. We need to have a time to show Baron in the spotlight, so let's do just that. And we'll definitely keep the Fabled Passage on top. Let's see what shenanigans our opponent's playing today. Okay, so potentially mono green shenanigans. Yep. So, in that case, I'm going to play this out. We'll probably then play Castle Ardenvale just to hold up the Hypnotic Sprite counter magic. Oh, Gagari shenanigans. Okay. Fascinating. Well, we're going to still take 2. Ow. And we're going to play Castle Ardenvale, and then we're going to hold up the Hypnotic Sprite counter magic. They decide just to attack in. We'll take the damage. Interesting. So we're going to do this. Go get an island. We have choices here. We could just Banshee Light one of these already, just to get it out of the way, but I think I would rather use Banshee Light on a more... Actually, here's the play here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to play Baron. We're going to bounce this. Now, technically I could have swung in for free. I know that. That was a misplay. But the play that I'm thinking here is we draw a card, and then we can use the Adventurer to bounce Baron back to protect it if they try to remove it. Or we could do the cheeky thing of blocking the 2-1 Death Touch and then bounce it back, so... Depends on if they try to remove it. It doesn't look like they're in the removing game at the moment, so... It looks like they're just in the get stuff in the graveyard game. We're going to attack in. We're going to block, but not really block because we're going to bounce it back to our hand and hope they don't have removal. There we go. And we take 2. What is their game plan? Well, I think we'll play this out, just to have it, and then hold up the counter sprite mana, as I stated before. Ah, finally! You never really see people play this card. Okay, though it is a problem with us, because... we do have to deal with it. But we do have the Banshee Light, so it's not that bad, actually, now coming to think of it. I think I am going to trade now with this. We will still take 6 damage, but better 6 than more, so to speak. So, yeah. So what we can do here is we're going to Banshee Light, because... Yeah, we probably should. Say bye-bye to Underrealm Rich. And if they try to remove it with any, like, targeted removal spells, we can just Hypnotic Sprite here. Okay. Do we ever... Do we flash in Neon Bay to block one of these? We might have to, actually. While I would like the life gain, I think we do have to keep the board state in check just a little bit. Okay, we get a Temple, so we're going to Temple. We already have 2 Hypnotic Sprites, so we should be good with the Hypnotic Sprites. Is there ever a time that we use Baron to bounce a Mire Triton? We don't want to bounce the Gagari Finebroker, but we might have to, unfortunately. We know they have Storev in hand. They're probably going to cast that. We could also just create a token and just block with the token. I think I'm going to do just that. Hold up, see what they cast. This is Storev. Are they going to try to cast anything else? Doesn't look like it. They're going to swing in. We're going to create that token, block the 2-1 since we can, take the free damage since we have to. And we do get a castle, so we do have choices here. I do think we do first cast Baron, bounce Storev back to hand, stall it for a little bit. The best part, we do have enough mana to just create a human token to just block the Gagari Findbroker. Okay, there's Storev again. Okay, decided not to attack in. Fascinating. Okay, now we have some interesting choices here. So, let's see. If we keep 1, 2, it would keep... So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can cast this for 1 and still hold up counter magic. I think that's the game plan. Make sure we keep still 1 blue mana up. Thank you. Ooh, Brazen Borrower. That's even better. Okay, so we're gonna pass the turn. Ew. Okay, so... they still have enough mana to recast that if they want to, so... Did we just bounce the Storev? I think we just bounced the Storev. Tap that down. We'll chump. Do we just want to get rid of this? Nah, we probably should keep Gatwick since it's going to... Since we have blue instant spells on the stack, we can essentially keep some problematic creatures tapped down, more or less. But first things first, we are definitely casting the Sad Robot. Going to go get another island. And we're going to see what they do here. Yeah! We're going to counter that and tap down that. And we are now going to have to block here. So the way I think I'm going to do this is block here, block here. Mostly because we don't want the trigger damage of the combat damage with Storev, and we don't mind it going to the graveyard, and drawing a card is just going to be nice. Fossa. Does Fossa help us out here? Well, maybe, actually, because, let's see, if we cast Fossa. 1, 2, 3, 4. The devotion for Fossa will be 1. If we cast Hypnotic Sprite, then devotion will be 3. And then we can cast Fossa's Oracle. Or is it better to, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Hold your hoses, opponent. Oh no, wait a minute. I could also just hold up the mana just to tap down the questing beast. Is that better? Actually, I think that's better, so we're going to pause on their upkeep. We're going to bounce this, because why not? Or we could... Actually, I got an idea. We're going to see what they do here. So they're going to attack with everything. We're going to flash in this. Block. Block. Okay, that's... We really need to shatter this guy. Actually, I might pause on my upkeep here, because we could just... Do we have enough? Yeah, we have enough. So we're gonna scry. See if we can find... Brazen Bar is not bad to draw. That's probably the play. So, we're going to do that. We're going to draw that. Then we will have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Huh. We'll take the theoretical 2. Hope it's not more. Okay, I think then just the game plan is just play Foss's Oracle. Baron will be lovely. Then we will bounce. Just that. And we got 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we then can cast this. We're going to hold up the chump blocker. We'll bounce Foss's Oracle again. We're probably still going to keep the Baron on top, obviously, but Gadwick, though, is really tempting. Is it Gadwick or Baron? I think we're at the point of the game. Well, there's also just a Fae of Wishes, which probably Fae of Wishes is actually better in this circumstance. Yeah, Fae of Wishes, actually. Okay, they cast that. We don't mind that. Mostly I'm holding up to see if they have another one of those harpooners. Speaking of which, nope. Let's hope they don't have a second one. They do not. Ooh. But that's a Peruka nose. Oh, dear. That's a Peruka nose. Really? Yeah, I was kind of surprised there, opponent. I would be like, you sure about that? Okay, so we got a Fae. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can tutor for something for 6. So let's do that. Actually, there we go. We'll bounce this. This time we'll keep Niambe on top, since the life gain would actually be kind of lovely. Sure, you can have the 10-10. Weirdest phrase I think I had to say at the moment. Elspeth Conqueror Staff would be very nice here, so we're going to put that on top. We're going to block this with a token, and honestly just block this. Because they're going to try to cast Pelucranos, which is what we're suspecting. There's a Peruvinos. So yeah, we're going to say no to that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to play Niambe, returning the Brazen Borrower to our hand. And then we're just going to play Petty Theft, bouncing that. Swing in for 1 since we can. And just bounce it again. This time bouncing the Passus Oracle to gain 2 life. That's a demonic embrace. That could be a problem. Okay, so we play Passus Oracle. That's going to be good to keep on top. Then we play this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. We're going to tap that down. Let's see how our opponent plays here. Say hi to Doggos. Nice motor hold. Really? Okay, so this is where we get a little cheeky. So we're going to return Baron. Get the +1 loyalty. We're going to return the Ambe. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bounce the Baron to our hand. Get the free life. We're going to Shatter the Sky. Play the Baron again. Then play this. Have Fasa online. We'll attack in for 6. Yep, I can tell the family is back. And then what we're going to do is just, we're going to do this. Submit 0, draw a card. And that is a cheeky way to do the game. Okay, there's my trade. We gotta be cautious, because our opponent could have that big thing where it's like deal X damage to us that's equal to... I think what I'm gonna do here is actually play the Fate Wishes. Swing in. Then I'm going to cast this. Do. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have enough to do a wish granted. I'm going to do that to go get... what would be nice in this circumstance? Maybe we just need to get Kira Best of Seagon and just close the match out. There is also an argument for just a neutralizer. Yeah, let's actually get the neutralize. Let's not get greedy here. And our opponent's like, nope. Very nice. Very nice. Now, like I said, there's still a few tweaks I have to make to the deck here and there, but I do like this iteration of the deck. Though, let's say you don't have all the wild cards for this deck, here's some recommendations I would recommend to just replace cards in the deck if you need to, that I think would be actually good substitutes. Like, for example, for the lands, let's say you don't have the Fabled Passage or Temple of Enlightenment, you will do fine with just the kind of like Tarkir tap lands, or I guess technically Ikoria tap lands more specifically. Let me get to them real quick. There we go. So you can definitely use gates, but you can also just use the... Technically it's M20, but you will find a Tarkir or M21 variation of these. You can definitely use Tranquil Clove. That's just a good budget alternative. You do miss the Scry, which is a little bit sad, but it is something that you can consider. As for cards that are non-land cards you can consider for the deck, I would consider Assets of Life Bounty, especially if you want to try to protect your combo pieces a lot more consistently. Another card that I think would be really good for the deck that I wanted to test out, especially if you've seen a lot of like really annoying enchantments or Wilderness Wreck situations. I've been seeing a lot of Orzhov Light games using Light of Hope, and Light of Hope is actually a really good sideboard card for best of one shenanigans. Just good to be able to destroy Wilderness Wreck right off the spot, especially if you don't have enough mana to play, kind of like Elspeth Conquers Death, or you don't have a counterspell. Light of Hope is just a really good instant response to be like, nope, to an enchantment, essentially. Besides that, another recommendation I would say, if you do already have it in your collection, I would recommend something along the lines of, let me get to it real quick. Honestly, the one I would actually recommend, not Heliod, but let's see, it's around here somewhere. I definitely was considering Omen of the Sun for the deck, but I decided I still wanted to go more with the Mono Blue Devotion. But if you do want to check one more card to put in the deck, I would recommend something like Bastardy's Lieutenant. Just really decent with the Stonecoil Serpent and other ways that we get counters on our creatures, like with Elspeth Conquers Death and such. It's a decent one. You could also throw Elspeth in the deck as well if you want to consider it. I was thinking about it, but like I said before, I was mostly wanting to try to keep this mono blue with a splash of white, but Elspeth Sun's Nemesis could help make our creatures a lot more aggressive oriented in the mid-game, so that's definitely a card to consider if you have it in your collection. And the last one that I would say to consider is actually Mothra Supersonic Queen. Really good card, just a really good aggressive, kind of like help us protect against our board wipes. Plus, we do have some really interesting ETBs where we can, like, if Baron and, like, let's say Neombi's on the battlefield, board wipe happens, these come back with flying, we could bounce the Baron or vice versa and such. Also, another card, last recommendation, Megara the Diplomat. I still need to test in this deck, but I do feel like it might be actually a decent card draw engine in the late game if we don't have any of our bounce targets and such. And with that, that is the deck. You can make your own little alterations or not make a rotation-proof variation of the deck if you want to. I hope you enjoy the following deck, and you all have a lovely day. This is Levdeath, signing out. Bye-doo.